Thanks for staying with us. I am Ritangshu Bhattacharya. Our next debate is about this man, the man who made India soar with pride at not one but two Olympics, who carried the tricolour on the global stage with humility, dignity, and in one case, a golden arm. Can you believe it that today this man is forced to explain himself and prove that he is indeed a patriot? Neeraj Chopra is not just a world-class athlete. He's a national icon. But this week, hate seems to have won over all reason. Trolls didn't just target him, they went after his family, his integrity, his patriotism. Why? Because he dared to extend a sporting invitation to his sporting compatriot and fellow javelinist Arshad Nadeem from Pakistan. Not after the Pahalgam attack, but before it. It was an act of goodwill, which is now being painted with malice. In his open letter, the open letter which he put out today, he just doesn't defend himself. There's so much of angst, so much of hurt that comes out. It reminds us of what true grace really looks like. He's reminded us that his strength isn't just in war cries and slogans, it's in standing tall when the mob comes for you and still saying Jai Hind. Ladies and gentlemen, are we so blinded with hatred and our desire for vengeance that we have forgotten that Neeraj Chopra, the man who's brought us not one but two Olympic medals, is not our villain? Have we lost all sense if we suddenly decide that Neeraj Chopra is not a patriot? If he isn't, then who is? Not for that matter, even the Kashmiri students who are facing hatred and threats to their safety across the country, they aren't the villains either. They are as Indian as you and I. And by othering them, we are succeeding in exactly what these terrorists wanted us to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Neeraj Chopra stood up, not just for himself, but for the idea of India he believes in. Let's not forget who we are, or worse, who we are now becoming. Let's go across to my guests who are joining me on this very important debate. Ranjit Bajaj is former chairman and advisory committee on integrity matters of AIFF. Nikhil Chandwani is author and a sports journalist. Dr. Sunita Godara is, of course, a former Olympian, and she's also an Asian marathon champion of 1992. Thank you all for joining me. Let me begin with you, Ranjit. Even if, let's put aside for a fact about the timing about when this invitation was sent out by Neeraj to Arshad. Even if Neeraj Chopra did send out this invitation to his friend, his compatriot, whatever at Arshad Nadeem, does any citizen of this country have the moral right to lecture this man about patriotism, lecture this man about feeling love for his country after all that Neeraj Chopra has done for India?
Thank you so much for having me on Mira now. See, I don't think anyone has the right to lecture him. I think he has done what no Indian has done before, at least in athletics. The first time ever he's got a gold medal, and that time 1.5 billion people were the happiest, and we were the proudest ever because of this man. The timing of this is unfortunate, and at that time I remember that Neeraj Chopra's mother had really told the whole world that they are like, both of them are like my children. So maybe we don't want to believe it, but end of the day, before the British came, we were all one country. And that's where his mother was coming from. That end of the day, we were one. But now, even if he's invited him, he's invited him as the Olympic gold medalist, by the way. He's just not a Pakistani who's been invited. He was the Olympic gold medalist. And I can understand, doesn't matter if it was, somebody who had not won anything, and then specially inviting somebody from Pakistan, that was going to be really not right. Because if cricketers are not allowed in India, why should javelin players or any other athletes be allowed? Or if the same rules apply for everybody. But where this is concerned, he has made it very, very clear that he has never done this. And in fact, he would never do that. I know the gentleman because he's been in DAV college. He's a Chandigarh lad all through and through. He's just wears his heart on his sleeve. He's done nothing else but for his country. The amount of people who must have told him that come change your citizenship, because even from the US to even the big countries like they do to all our great athletes, was immense. I'm not talking about now after he's won a gold medal. Everybody predicted it because everybody knew how well he was doing in the college circuit there. So he got great offers. and he's rejected them all. He's rejected offers of tobacco and cold drinks. Why? Because he cares about our country. If he didn't care about the youth of the country, he wouldn't have done that. So it's really painful, and especially with a gold medalist. And I think it's just sad that it's because of the timing this has been brought up, and they're just finding something else. It would have been a cricket match, and something would have happened there, and somebody would have been just walking out, hugging a man. It would have been the same controversy.
Okay, let's talk about timing. Nikhil Chandwani coming here. If hypothetically the Pahalgam attack had not happened this week, would it have been okay to invite? Would it have been okay for Neeraj to invite Arshad, Nadeem for an event being held in Indian soil? Because at the same time, we have not invited Pakistani cricketers to India for the longest time, as Ranjit was pointing out. But other athletes, spokespersons, athletes from Pakistan have always been invited. Wasn't there always a double standard at play, which has now suddenly come into light, and which is why Neeraj Chopra is now being made a scapegoat?
We should never invite anybody from an enemy country, and Pakistan has been sponsoring cross-border terrorism for the past 77 long years. However, Neeraj Chopra being Neeraj Chopra, he has made our country proud multiple times, and he invited this Pakistani javelin throw guy 2 days before the attack, and the trolls on Twitter, these people, they need a scapegoat. They just need somebody where they can target and they can just vent out their emotions. And that's what people were doing on Twitter. And I was reading all the tweets just before this debate, and it was so stupid. People are personally attacking Neeraj Chopra for a small mistake that he has done by inviting a athlete from an enemy country before the Pahalgam attack. The Twitter, they didn't have the full knowledge that this invitation was sent before the attack, and that's why they were all accusing Neeraj Chopra, and he was being targeted. People were targeting him as if he's the one who has carried out an attack in Pahalgam, and that was very bad. That was very terrible to read. Yeah.
So, Nikhil, again, my point is, if the Pahalgam attacks had not happened, would it have been okay for Neeraj to invite Arshad, Nadeem?
No, Arshad should never have been invited in the first place, irrespective of the attack being happening or not. However, the Twitter army should have not personally abused Neeraj Chopra either for the invitation that he has sent.
So, so let's keep the abuse and the hatred. No one's defending it. No one's justifying it at all. Let's keep that aside for a second. Dr. Sunita Godara, you have been an athlete who has represented India at the highest levels of the sport, whether it be in Olympics, whether it be at Commonwealth Games, whether it be the Asian Games. Let's be honest, and I'm sure sport is such a wonderful feeling. It brings people together. That's the reason why these games happen. The idea is to promote brotherhood. The idea is to promote amity between athletes from different countries. That's the larger message. And because India and Pakistan are culturally similar and have similar problems or handicaps on a sporting arena, there is a sense of camaraderie. There's a sense of companionship which develops in a sporting arena. Where do we then apply these geopolitical distinctions which have then come in due to terrorism? Can it really merge? Because we've seen so many athletes here. Neeraj Chopra and Arshad's friendship has been well known for years now. Is it fair to put that under the spotlight, say that no, an Indian and a Pakistani can never be friends?
First of all, in sports, we don't have any caste, creed, gender, any discrimination. So we should keep sports away from this politics, which is war or hatred. We don't do this in sports. And secondly, if I talk about Neeraj Chopra, he's an army soldier. And you know, he was offered class 1 job by railway, by Haryana, but he refused. And he's still continuing as an army soldier, class 2 job, because he loves army, he loves his nation, and he has brought glory for the country. Nobody has done what Neeraj Chopra has done in athletics so far, getting the gold medal. And you know, inviting Arshad, remember in Olympics, he was, hugging him, and mother saying that he's also my son. Yeah. That time nobody said anything, because that time Neeraj was, bringing glory to the country and honor. And now, because of this Pulwama, people have got ideas. Why merge this sports with the war and everything, you know, because we in sports, we believe in brotherhood. You are very right, absolutely correct. And we don't see this caste politics in sports. So this is very bad what people are doing. And Neeraj Chopra inviting Arshad is a sportsman, invite a sportsman, that also a world-class sportsman, where he promised that in his javelin tournament, he will bring all best in the world. So Arshad being best, so he invited him. Nothing wrong in it.
Ranjit Bajaj, do you agree with Sunita ma'am's views that sports and politics should be kept aside? I know the obvious answer says no, especially not in the light of what has happened in Pahalgam. But in reality, we see that's different, and it's not just in the field of athletics. In sports, it's very well known that, for instance, someone like Virat Kohli has a lot of fans and admirers within the current Pakistani team. They keep getting along. A few months ago, there was this very at that point described as a very heartwarming visual when Shaheen Afridi gifted something to Jasprit Bumrah on the birth of his daughter. At that time, these visuals are seen as something proof that, you know, sport rises above political boundaries. But now when there's something which happens on which sports persons have no control over, now we are quick to demonize them.
You've got two ways to look at this. I would not agree with Sunita ma'am, even though my entire life is dedicated to sports. But where are armed forces? Please go and tell that to the mother of the soldier who's lost his life on the border, and go and tell him that I still want to play sports with this guy because, you know, in sports it should be allowed. I mean, that's shameful. We have to stand up for our country. If it means not playing sports with the enemy country, so be it. That's a very, very small sacrifice we have to pay. And if we have to make sure that we get so we are using our power to make sure what we are now degrading Pakistan in BCC, the way BCCI did last time. It showed them their place in the world. Sports is also a way, it's a soft power, yes, but it's a way to show if you're on the field, you're in a world championship, so be it. You better beat him. But if it's a choice where it's a bilateral series, or it's a choice whether we can invite the enemy, we do not invite the enemy to our house. Why? In fact, let me tell all the viewers, this happened before the Pulwama, the Pahalgam attack in Kashmir right now. But he had already said no. Can you believe it? Neeraj Chopra invited him, and this guy had the audacity to say no. And his statement was that I have to prepare for the Asian Games in Macau, and I'm really, really preparing for that a lot, and that is why I'm not coming. And why did Neeraj Chopra call him? Because Neeraj Chopra thought he's my friend and I'm doing this event for the first time and I want to have the best in the world. And so what? I'll take a risk of inviting a Pakistani here. And that's what happens when you invite Pakistanis here and take a risk. They stab you in the back. Because just before this Pahalgam attack, I was just thinking to myself, oh my God, he's really going to get a lot of flack for inviting him. But the moment that guy said no, and he's not coming because he's got practice and that he's really looking forward to the Asian Championships, that showed what he thought of Neeraj Chopra. And now once he's got the gold medal, he doesn't care. Before the gold medal, by the way, he didn't have money to even buy a javelin. And Neeraj Chopra was the one who sent him money for buying a javelin there and did a fundraiser there. That was the state of that man who forgets basically who's the one who's helped you when you were down. So I think there's no chance at all. After this, they should be, forget about sports. We shouldn't be even going anywhere near Pakistan in any field whatsoever. They should be
point
isolated.
taken. Dr. Godara wants to come in. Go ahead.
My country should be just doing hate on them because that's what they've done to us.
Yes.
Dr. Godara, go ahead.
See, whatever happened, Neeraj invited Arshad before, Neeraj invited Arshad before this attack happened. And Arshad refused. Maybe he was scared. So what? When what has happened is very bad, you know. So Arshad, maybe he's scared coming to India because what has happened is not good. And Neeraj, when he invited, like what the way he was behaving during winning the Olympic medal and all that, that time nobody said anything when he was hugging Arshad. Now, and when he is giving javelin to Arshad, that time nobody said anything. So in this scenario, before attack was the invitation, and after attack, Arshad refused. because Arshad was scared.
No,
There
no.
is
He
no
refused-
fault of
he
Neeraj
refused before
Chopra
the
in this
attack.
episode.
He refused before the
I'm
attack.
saying again, no.
He refused before the attack. The
2
visa,
days,
ma'am,
you
I'll
know,
tell you.
he
Even
refused
ma'am,
afterwards.
Ma'am, please go. Ma'am,
No,
please
no,
go
no,
check
no, no,
the
no. He
paper
refused
report.
afterwards.
Ma'am, he
And
refused,
secondly,
ma'am,
army,
one second.
we don't
Ma'am, the
believe
moment the attack
in
happened, we
army.
cancelled all the visas. We refused to give visas. We threw the
Criticizing
Pakistanis
Neeraj
out.
Chopra is
Forget about,
the person
forget,
who is
ma'am,
criticizing
forget about
Neeraj
him
Chopra
refusing.
is
It had nothing
not
to do with him
patriot.
refusing.
Okay.
He
First
threw
of all,
all the
if you are
Pakistanis out.
Deshbhakt, if you are real
He threw
Deshbhakt,
out all
you
the
should
Pakistanis.
not,
So there's no
you
chance.
should
No,
not
ma'am, please
criticize
go. You are
Neeraj
wrong,
Chopra.
actually.
Neeraj Chopra
Ma'am,
is
you're
doing
wrong
nothing
factually.
wrong.
Ma'am,
Neeraj
No,
Chopra
okay.
is a
No, no,
sports
one
person.
second.
I'm
And
saying you
sports
are wrong.
person,
I am saying you are
don't
wrong,
go with
ma'am.
this hatred.
It is
You
not
may
wrong.
be having
Ma'am,
hatred.
you are wrong
And
in
whatever
saying
has
that he
happened
did
is
it before.
really
You're
very bad.
factually wrong.
But
Ma'am,
there is
you're
no
not
fault
understanding
of
what
Neeraj
I'm saying.
Chopra.
Ma'am,
There is
I'm
no
not saying
fault
about
of Neeraj Chopra. Don't say anything
No, no, one
against
second.
Neeraj
Dr.
Chopra.
Sunita
He is
Godara.
One
our
second.
honorary
Let me bring in Nikhil at this point. Let's calm down. Let's calm down at this point. This
Respect
is
him. Whatever-
no. This is showing
whatever is
exactly
happening,
what my
that's
question
not-
is. We
that's
are
not-
being so
that's very
getting
simple.
divided in our.
Whatever is happening
One second. If I could just
is
bring an
between
order at this
India
point.
and
This is not a
Pakistan.
political tutu
Our
meme debate.
government has
I have
to
the
take
greatest respect for all my
decision.
guests at
We
this
are
point.
nobody to take any
The point
decision.
is. This is not the reaction we should be having, but trying to find villains within our country, especially within the sporting world. Nikhil, come in at this point here. Nobody here, I don't think Dr. Godara or even Ranjit for the matter, is defending the hate and abuse which Neeraj Chopra has received, especially against his family here. But as Dr. Sunita Godara said, will you agree that Neeraj Chopra is above criticism here? If he makes a controversial decision to invite a Pakistani athlete here, during times, I mean, even if it is before the attack here, is it not something which he should be criticized for, but criticized respectfully?
Neeraj Chopra is not above the criticism for sure. And he did a blunder, he did a mistake by inviting a Pakistani athlete. The country of Pakistan was created in 1947 because that bunch of people hated the Hindus here, the Indians here, and that's why they wanted a different country. Even today, that country is probably the only country in the world which is invited, which is together, which is right now staying together because they all hate us. There's no other similarity that the people over there have amongst each other. And that is why, because these people hate us, every day 3 Hindu girls are being converted in Pakistan. And whenever India wins a match here in Pakistan, the Hindus, the Sikhs, they are attacked. And this is something which has been widely covered everywhere in the world. And we have
No,
been
but isn't
seeing
that
it
our
day in and day out.
fickleness? Nikhil, isn't that our fickleness? Because by our, I even mean the media's fickleness, since you're also someone who writes and journalist here. I remember all the headlines about how India-Pakistan Aman Ki Asha and India-Pakistan brotherhood that came in when these heartwarming visuals of the two mothers expressing the love for each other's sons and for one of them touching the feet of the other person. That time they were all positive headlines. That's what Dr. Sunita is saying. That when it comes to a suitability, we praise this great Indo-Pakistan story, love story, because this story of two underdogs. But when the circumstances change, suddenly this entire relationship retrospectively becomes vilified.
It's a learning lesson for India, for Indians, that whenever we have done Aman Ki Asha, we have been betrayed. I agree with Ranjit sir when he said that we have been betrayed day in and day out since 1947. But right now, as we speak, because of all the mistakes that we have done by showing Aman Ki Asha, before the Kargil war, we had Aman Ki Asha, we had a bus moving from India to Pakistan. Then Kargil happened. Even now, like Neeraj Chopra, he sent an invitation. That guy had the audacity to reject it. I again agree 100% absolutely with Ranjit sir that we have had our blunders
Let
that
me
we
come
have
to
done in
Ranjit
the
for the
past.
last word, because
We're learning from it. We're
Ranjit,
learning
I have
from it.
one last question to ask and I have to wrap this up. My point is, fair enough, if you want to come up with a universal rule saying that Indians and Pakistani athletes should not fraternize together, we should behave as rivals and opponents even on the sporting field, shouldn't this apply to the politicians running the sport as well? We will say that we will not play Pakistan in bilateral events, yet we ensure, and by we, the ICC must be ensuring, but the BCCI, we all know, controls the ICC. We ensure that every time there is an international tournament, there is the India versus Pakistan match so that we get the maximum revenue. There was all this hangama before the Champions Trophy that no, we will not go to Pakistan. But on the eve of the Indo-Pakistan match, there was a photograph that went viral of the BCCI officials, of the Indian cricket officials and the Pakistani cricket officials all getting together, enjoying chai and enjoying samosas and all these points. So when that bonhomie is allowed, why shouldn't the players or athletes not be allowed to have personal relationships and friendships?
Ritangshu, what happens is that we give off mixed signals because we try, and we Indians have been trying for the last 70 years plus now that maybe he's our lost brother and he comes to his sense. But every single time we've tried, they betrayed us. In fact, they betrayed us so badly that they invite us to their home and then they attack us. For example, that even Modi had a brief stopover there, which was such a surprise for everybody. And the next day, the Pulwama attack happened. They do this every single time. Every single time there's some progress in our relationship with them, they go out and make sure that we can never get along. They come and but this time...
No, I am not defending Pakistan. I just want consistency here. If our administrators, if our sports administrators, if our politicians and who often administer sport, give out mixed messaging here, is it fair to vilify our players? Is it fair to vilify our athletes?
No,
that's
not.
The question I'm asking.
It has to be a... Ritangshu,
and I'm glad you say no on that. And that's the point. Neeraj Chopra, one may not... I think I'll have to end it here at this point, but at least it's one clear...
It's a blanket.
And that ban has to come from the government, Ranjit.
For every
that ban has to come from the government here. That ban has to come from the sports ministry. It should not be left to players to police themselves that, okay, at this time you're allowed to be friends with a Pakistani, at this time you're not allowed to be. It's not fair.
You're right.
And in abusing them is even worse. Thank you so much, Nikhil. Thank you so much, Ranjit. Thank you so much, Sunita ma'am, for joining us at this point. I wish we had more time, but this only indicates how passionate we are all at this point. The only appeal I think we can all argue is Neeraj Chopra is not a villain. He's not the reason why the tragedy has happened at Pahalgam. You can be disappointed as a decision, disappointed as his friendships, but nobody has the right to abuse him. Thank you so much. News and updates continue on the other side of a short break.